Douglas Cooling and Heating, serving the Birmingham area for 38 years. 988-3706. That's Douglas.
This is the Weather Extreme video for Sunday, November the 28th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters, and it looks like we've got moderation going on and some wet weather ahead of us. Let's take a look at the Skycam network this morning, and there's a look at the Skycam view from the Daniel Building in downtown Birmingham as we look out over Red Mountain and the sun rising. And one of my favorite shots, looking down the spine of the Appalachians as we look down to the south-southwest along the end of the Appalachians from Mount Cheaha, highest point in the state of Alabama. Surface high pressure is bringing us a beautiful weekend with plenty of sunshine, but notice that as the high moves off to the east, we're beginning to see some moisture increasing off to our west, and we can see that across Arkansas, Louisiana, and parts of East Texas. But the next weather system is still a couple of days away. Looks like it'll be primarily late Monday and into Tuesday, ending by Wednesday. On our upper air map this morning, we're still under a bit of a ridge, but you can see a little short wave with those clouds coming through. And we also have that big trough out over the western part of the United States. That is going to be bringing us our next weather system. Temperatures not quite as chilly as we saw yesterday morning across much of the U.S. Not quite as many single-digit values as we saw yesterday as the atmosphere moderates just a little bit. And across central Alabama, we're primarily around the freezing degree mark, and we were looking at temperatures lows this morning around 30 to 32, and indeed that seems to be the values. Anniston, one of our cool spots there with 29, Fort Payne at 25 this morning. And still with that weather system out to our west, we've got a lot of watches, warnings, advisories, and now as the system is getting further out into the central plains, beginning to impact the central plains, we're beginning to see those brown areas which are wind advisories. QPF-wise, looks like it's gone up just a little bit. We're going to see a fairly significant front come through with some colder air once again. And indeed, it looks like on the order of 1 to 2 inches possible across much of central Alabama. And speaking of rain and the possibility of severe weather, we are into our fall season still as November is beginning to close out, and the Storm Prediction Center outlooking for day 2, which is, day 2 is Monday into Tuesday. Slight risk over much of Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and southwestern Alabama. So we'll be watching that for the possibilities to see exactly how far north the deep level moisture can get. And as we also are getting close to closing out the 2010 hurricane season, everything looking pretty good across the tropics and nothing in particular to watch. But because it is verging on winter time, I thought we'd take a real quick look at the snow depth chart over the North American continent here, or especially across the U.S., and indeed a good deal of snow cover, a little bit more than I expected. All right, the 06E GFS model run, and here's the surface chart for today at noon. And there goes that high over Pennsylvania and keeping us sunny and mild. It looks like the trough begins to come across the southwestern United States on Monday, and that will be bringing us both a warm front and producing the storm system in the central plains that will be moving our way with a cold front. So it looks like we could see some patchy, we'll see clouds on Monday, but we could see some patchy rain as the warm front moves to our north. The trough, begins to really sharpen up on Tuesday, and that will bring the front into the area. It looks like the main day for rain is going to be on Tuesday. And notice the 540 line, not quite as far south as it was showing up on the GFS yesterday. Definitely down into the vicinity of San Antonio and Waco, but not quite as far south. I think I mentioned Corpus Christi yesterday. The trough zips on by, so Wednesday we should be back into a transition where I think the rain will be over by Wednesday morning. By early Wednesday morning, probably by the time we head to work, the rain should be over, and we should see some sun by afternoon as the front zips off into the Atlantic, and you can see the 540 line down into the vicinity of about Fort Payne. Let's look a little bit closer here, and as we zoom in on the 850 chart, you can see that the 850 0-degree line is all the way down into South Alabama, so it is going to be a bit of a nippy morning Wednesday, and again on Thursday as we stay dry, and then Friday we're still dry, but the cold air begins to moderate some, and you can see the 540 line off into the Carolinas. By Saturday, we're under the ridge, big ridge across the central part of the country, and that should keep us in a dry pattern for the Saturday, and once again dry for the weekend. But as the ridge gets a little further to the east, and the surface high pressure gets a little further to the east, moisture increasing off to our west. Now let's go out into Voodoo, and Voodoo is kind of interesting because we've got a wet system around the 7th. And right now that doesn't look like any significant winter weather, but certainly something we'll be watching since we have had some cold weather. Another wet system around the 10th, so it looks like about every 3 days. And then when you get out to the 13th, once again, looks kind of chilly. So nothing real bad to be watching for at the moment, but certainly interesting to see how the weather system stays very progressive. Well, appreciate you tuning into the Weather Extreme video this morning, and today, whatever, James Spann should be back with the next edition first thing on Monday morning. In the meantime, hope that you have a great Sunday, and Godspeed.
Each day there are new stories to tell about the people who live here and the place we call home.
All of the faces that I see, all of the places close to me, they're all part of all the best things about home.
Sharing your stories on ABC 3340, Alabama's news leader.